Tomorrow, somewhere in the world, a child is going to turn 5. The lights will dim, a cake will appear, and without thinking, without rehearsing, without even agreeing on anything, every adult in that room will start singing the exact same song, in the exact same key, with the exact same words. They didn't decide to, they didn't have to, they just did. This will happen roughly 100 million times this year. It is the most performed song in human history. But for almost a century, every single time anyone sang it in public, at a restaurant, on a movie set, at a stranger's birthday, they were technically committing a crime. And one corporation made $700 million from that crime. This is the strangest story in the history of music, and it ends with a court ruling so recent, you were probably alive when it happened. Our story begins in 1893 in a small kindergarten in Louisville, Kentucky. 2 sisters work there. Patty Hill, the headmistress, 35 years old, soft-spoken, obsessed with how young children actually learn. And her older sister Mildred, a composer, a church organist, a woman who could turn any sentence into a melody in under a minute. Patty has a problem. The children arrive in the morning quiet, scared, withdrawn. She needs a song. Something simple enough that a 4-year-old can learn it by lunchtime. Something warm enough to break the ice every single morning, every single day. So Mildred writes one. 6 notes, 4 words repeated 4 times. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Good morning, dear children. Good morning to all. It works perfectly. Within weeks, every child in the school knows it. Within months, other kindergartens in Louisville are using it. The sisters publish it in a small songbook in 1893 called Song Stories for the Kindergarten, printed by a tiny Chicago music publisher named Clayton F. Summy. The Hill sisters get paid a small, one-time fee. They sign over the publishing rights, and they go back to teaching. They have no idea, and they will never know in their lifetime, that they have just written the song that will become the most lucrative piece of music in the history of the world. Here is the strange part. Nobody knows exactly when, or where, or who first decided to do it. But sometime in the 1900s, somewhere in America, somebody at a child's birthday party took the melody of Good Morning to All and changed 4 words. Good morning to you became Happy birthday to you. That's it. No royalty, no announcement, no author. Just a quiet mutation that spread mouth to mouth across the country. By 1924, the new version appears in a songbook in print for the first time. By 1933, it shows up in a Broadway musical. By 1934, it's in a Hollywood film. The Hill sisters watch all of this happen from the sidelines. Their melody, written for terrified 4-year-olds in a Kentucky kindergarten, has somehow become America's birthday song. Patty Hill is now 60. She watches strangers sing her melody in public, in newsreels, on the radio. She has never seen $1 from any of it. And then, her younger sister Jessica makes a phone call to a lawyer. In 1935, Jessica Hill, the 3rd sister, files a federal copyright claim. She argues that the Happy Birthday lyrics are derivative of Good Morning to All, which her sisters wrote. The publisher, Clayton F. Summy, registers the song, and now, for the first time in history, Happy Birthday to You has a legal owner. Here is where the story stops being charming. Over the next 60 years, the rights to that song get bought and sold and bought again. Clayton F. Summy Company becomes Birch Tree Group. Birch Tree gets bought by Warner Communications in 1988 for $15 million. Warner Communications becomes Warner Chappell Music, one of the 3 largest music publishers on planet Earth. And every single time the song appears in a movie, in a TV show, in a commercial, in a public restaurant performance, Warner gets paid. By the year 2000, the song is generating an estimated $2 million in royalties. Every year, like clockwork. By the time it's done, the song will have generated over $700 million in licensing revenue. Let's pause here and look at what this actually meant. May 1962. Marilyn Monroe walks onto a stage at Madison Square Garden in a dress so tight she had to be sewn into it. She sings "Happy Birthday, Mr. President" to John F. Kennedy, 45 seconds, the most famous birthday performance in American history. Technically, legally, she should have paid Warner a licensing fee to do that. Nobody did. Nobody was going to sue Marilyn Monroe or the President of the United States. But the rights holders absolutely could have, and they did sue plenty of other people. In 1991, when Steven Spielberg made the film Hook with Robin Williams, there's a brief scene of a birthday celebration. The studio paid $5,000 just to use the song. When Stanley Kubrick shot Eyes Wide Shut, his team checked the song's status before letting anyone sing it on set. Every Hollywood production had a single rule. If someone in your scene needs to sing Happy Birthday, you either pay Warner the fee or you cut the scene. But the strangest casualty of this whole arrangement was the American restaurant industry. If you've ever been to a Chili's, an Applebee's, a TGI Fridays, an Olive Garden, a Red Robin, and watched the staff awkwardly gather around your table to sing some bizarre off-brand birthday song, now you know why. They literally were not allowed to sing the actual song. Every major American chain restaurant in the 20th century invented its own birthday jingle, specifically to avoid paying Warner's licensing fee. That awkward moment was a copyright workaround. 2013. A documentary filmmaker named Jennifer Nelson is making a film about the history of Happy Birthday. She wants to include the song in her own documentary about the song. Warner Chappell sends her an invoice, $1,500, for the right to use a tune in a documentary about that tune. Nelson does something nobody had done in 80 years. She refuses to pay, and she sues Warner Chappell in federal court. Her argument? There is no evidence that Warner ever legitimately owned the lyrics to Happy Birthday. The 1935 copyright covered specific piano arrangements, not the four-word version everyone sings. The case lands in front of Judge George King. His clerks dig through 80 years of paperwork. They find something remarkable. A kindergarten songbook from 1922, published 13 years before Warner's claimed copyright, with the Happy Birthday lyrics printed in it. No copyright notice, no attribution. Already part of the public conversation. September 22, 2015. Judge King issues his ruling. Warner Chappell never owned the lyrics to Happy Birthday. They had been quietly collecting royalties on a song that legally belonged to no one for 80 years. The settlement is $14 million, returned to people who had paid licensing fees. The song is officially returned to the public domain in 2016. For the first time in human memory, Happy Birthday belongs to everyone. Tomorrow, somewhere in the world, that child will turn 5. The lights will dim, a cake will appear, and everyone in that room will sing the song. They will not know that for 80 years this exact moment was technically illegal. They will not know that two sisters in a Kentucky kindergarten accidentally wrote it for terrified 4-year-olds in 1893. They will not know about Marilyn, about Chili's, about Jennifer Nelson. But here's what I want you to think about. If a song this familiar, this universal, this woven into every birthday of your life hides a story this strange, what about everything else you do automatically every day? The handshake, the weekend, the bless you after a sneeze, the way every airport on Earth feels the same. This channel is about all of them. Every modern ritual you've never questioned, every recent invention you think is timeless, every familiar thing that is secretly very, very strange. If that's the kind of thing your mind needs right now, subscribe. New video every week. And next time, we look at why you say bless you when a stranger sneezes, and why the real reason is older than your country. See you then.